Hey, all my Pisces friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your July 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Pisces, I'm referring to Pisces rising as dictating the landscape of the chart. This is also applicable to Pisces Pisces moon and Pisces sun. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Pisces, this video is applicable to you as well. When I refer to a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. The month starts with a challenging dynamic between Mercury here in Cancer at 28 degrees, opposing Pluto in your 12th house at 1 degree retrograde. Cancer is your 5th house of creativity, fun, enjoyment, and pleasure. And there could potentially be some sort of things that come from out of nowhere. The 12th house is an interesting house because it's a house of invisibility, the house of self-undoing, the house of a little bit of an escapism here. And when I look at the idea of Pluto retrograding, opposing Mercury, there could be, just ideas or things or ways that you perceive the world that are just very different than the average person. And you may be feeling a sense of exile. It doesn't mean that you're having a conflict with another person, but there could be a conflict between your inner world and what the outer world is speaking of at this time. When I think of Cancer, it is a house where there's nurturing, there is a sense of home and hearth and safety and security and tradition and the things that make us feel connected. And this would be really an opposition to being connected to potentially your creativity, your self-expression, your children. You could have challenges with that. There's the conception of children going on here. And Pluto is really that deep psychological dynamic, that deep sort of imprint that holds us steady somewhere, holds us in a pattern, and we're not even aware of it sometimes. So there's stuff going on there. Plus, within your first house, Saturn has gone retrograde, and then Neptune is stationing to retrograde. And before I move to the second, when we'll experience the retrograde, I want to point out that one of the first things I saw when I looked at the month was the enormous amount of ones within the degrees. So the 28 reduces down to a 10. The sun is at 10 degrees. We have the nodes at 11 degrees. We have Neptune at 29 degrees, which reduces down to an 11. And then Saturn is at 19 degrees, which reduces down to a 10. And then, of course, Pluto here at 1 degree. This very much is spirit alerting us that our thoughts are things and they're manifesting very quickly. It also speaks of Saturn in your first house, asking you to be enduring and into building a strong connection with your spiritual self, your inner voice, your inner knowing, one that defies in some ways the outside world. That call forth is the wave of the future. Meaning from when we move forward, humanity moves forward, we're going to understand more and more that our thoughts are things, and they draw in people and experiences to support our focused thought. So this is a real review for you of what haunts you from the deeper depths of your soul into what happens in your everyday life, and potentially the thoughts of your own self-nurturing, your childhood, your romantic life. So there's a lot that's in play. Let's go to the second. This is where we see Neptune has gone retrograde and Mercury is at 0 degrees entering Leo. So this again is going to be sort of this energy of self-expression, of enjoyment, of fun. Leo is actually your 6th house of work and service to others, as well as your health. And this opposition for Pisces may indicate a need to play frivolously, to allow yourself the privilege of of entertaining yourself, doing even something as simple as the crossword puzzle, or spending time alone. Maybe, thinking of, I'm sorry, I can't find my cursor. Oh, there it is. Finding yourself thinking about how to renovate your future, how to, in some ways, revolutionize some of the mundane things that have adulting can be. I'll put it that way. We are going to go now to the new moon on the 5th. That's happening at 3:57 p.m. And this is quite a significant new moon because it's sandwiched between two full moons in Capricorn. The moon cycles changed back in the Libra season when we had two Aries full moons. And now we're having two more in the sign of Capricorn before the moon's actually recalibrated into its natural cycle. This is at 14 degrees, which is the Cancerian, it's the in Cancer at the Venusian Taurus degree. It's going to have me planting the seeds for new thoughts about not only my skills and my talents, but how I nurture myself, how I listen to my inner voice. Does my history in some ways pull me into a default way of thinking, way of feeling, way of being absorbed? There's a little bit of a challenge here with the idea of Cancer being your 5th house because it's watery and it's very willing to commingle, and your sign by nature is, the two fish intermingled. So while the 1st and the 5th house complement each other, an awareness of the self is very important, and that inner voice. So planting the seeds for that will also help illuminate the balance of the two Capricorn full moons, representing where there could be restriction or where there could be things feeling dry or feeling a sense of duty to something that isn't authentic to a truer place within your heart. Let's go now to the 11th, where Venus will have an opposition with Pluto. And this actually feels a bit like a series of waves to me. Because, PM. Because first we experienced our thoughts being under Pluto's focus. Now we're experiencing our self-worth, our money, our talents, our skills, and our receptive energy. Every being on the planet has a feminine energy. And this opposition in many ways could illuminate the opportunity to feel the receptive feminine energy of the universe. The 6th house is a house where we feel enslaved to things sometimes. We have a tendency to feel like we must be of service to a bigger picture, but often when we're of service to our own wants and desires, we represent possibilities for others to do the same. And I think that is supported by the trine to Uranus in Taurus. Taurus being your 3rd house of how you think, how you communicate, and how you interact with others. We also see an ongoing sextile with Neptune. That's going to go on between Pluto and Neptune as they change signs. Pluto will move back into Capricorn, and then it will go back into Aquarius for the next 20 years. So there's going to be a real renovation on a soul level being offered to you as you implement your divine tools. And rather than escaping the challenges that before you, you look for the divinity within them. So your ruling planet is going to retrograde until December, then it will move forward again and ultimately end up in Aries in March of 2025. And when it does that, it's in your 2nd house of skills, of being brave, to use your voice, and to make your own resources. So this is super powerful. We are going to go now to the 15th, where we see a conjunction between Mars and Uranus. Now, we are going to be feeling this conjunction for, after beginning of the month, we'll feel it, but it's going to get intense, a week before this exact conjunction. This is a polarizing event as Uranus gives us future sight. It gives us our genius. It offers us an epiphany. And here in the third house, it's the genius inside the house of thinking about my personal history. Mars gives us an opportunity to be brave moving forward. Now, the challenge is for people who have not been endeavoring an aware, conscious, intentional path in life could get very angry. There could be unexpected upsets. There could be blow-ups. We could see things happening in the news. There could be airstrikes on somebody's homeland. I don't know what's going on right now with the upsets around the world, but we could see those spike up a bit. Again, this is the third house, Taurus, for you. Taurus being a homeland, home and property. So this is a little day to be, I would, as in your personal life, I would this would be a day to be Piscean and to give yourself permission not to go into the more challenging dynamics of how we humans roll with each other. The idea that Mercury is making a quincunx to Saturn in your first house speaks of some sort of blind spot, a blind spot in I think potentially the media or how you're absorbing information. Again, Pisces rising, that you could have your sun and your moon in Leo, and this would be adding to the mix. But looking at your personal planets, this quincunx speaks of some old history kind of coming back, but it's a mental loop of some kind. Maybe it has to do with your self-worth and your value. Do people really value what I bring to the table and what I create? Let's go on to the 20th, where we'll see Mars enter Gemini. And this is, again, another significant energy change. Oh, let me go later in the day. Okay, so now we see Mars has entered Gemini and is in an exact trine to Pluto. This is significant because Mars has not been in Gemini for 2 years. And the last time Mars spent in Gemini was 7 months in 2022 and 2023. Gemini is your fourth house of home. So this would have very much kicked up the dust in your home last time. Now, this time we have an evolved Mars, because I truly believe that those that are walking in awareness or seeking, solace and comfort in life are examining all the sides of their emotional body. And Mars is where we store our anger and our frustration. So here Mars is wanting to be able to express himself, but in a way that others can hear. And this has to do potentially with your siblings, could be with your own children, your cousins, family members, neighbors, people in your workplace, people you interact with on a regular basis. So they can actually, you personally, Pisces, most of you are not, that I've met, are not really too mouthy, to be honest. And this might be an opportunity for you to express yourself in a more assertive way than you have before, and not to be creating arguments, but actually to create a sense of transformation. We see that Pluto is starting its opposition to the sun, and this could indicate that you don't want to be seen in a certain light anymore, or you're not appreciating how people are defining you. Because it's not playing to your strengths, it's playing to your cooperative components that submerge you in someone else's energy. So I think this is going to be super significant. And when I look at this, I can't help but also see a trigger. So here, Pluto, it triggers the sextile to Neptune. Neptune triggers the sextile to both of these planets right now, which are both trining. So there's a real focal point to implement your spiritual awareness, to recognize potentially that others are not standing in your awareness, and that sometimes words don't teach, experience does. So when you give someone a new experience, they learn something about you rather than you telling them or running away from the situation and hiding. Now let's go to the 21st, where we see our second Capricorn full moon. And this is, again, maybe I'm a little cuckoo with the numbers, but it just hits me like a ton of bricks. 3:17 a.m. reduces down to an 11. the master number of thought. We've been walking through the whole month seeing the planets at degrees, which are echoing that one number. Here on the day of the full moon, it's a 29 degrees. 29 degrees reduces down to an 11. The 11 is, again, that master number of thought. There's also a Leo energy attached to the number, the 29th degree. So there's following your heart and having the courage to do so. Venus is at 11 degrees right now. The slower planets are still, look at Saturn is still at 19 degrees. This has been like 6 weeks that Saturn has been at 19 degrees. This is the Libra degree of peace and harmony, but that starts with the self and the sense of self. So I think there's going to be an emotional illumination as the moon is conjunct Pluto, making very favorable aspects to both Neptune, Uranus, and Mars. And Mars is making favorable aspects to the sun. And Jupiter is making favorable aspects to Venus. So the illumination could be something that has to do with this square between everyday thinking here, 26-degree Mercury, sort of arguing with the innovative Mars and Uranus energy, especially Uranus. Because, Mercury gets kind of like it governs a lot of things, so it's a very busy sign, and doing so, it doesn't have the ability to do a deep dive. And sometimes I think Mercury feels judged by Uranus because Uranus is genius and willing to go and experiment and be kind of Capricornish in its willingness to try something over and over and over again until it succeeds. That's how you innovate. And at the same time, there's also that natural opposition between Mercury's Gemini energy and Sagittarius, so those big thoughts. So Mercury sort of gets this like monkey mind, sort of this dumbed down feeling of intelligence sometimes with Mercury. And I think that's what this square is doing a little bit. It could be a little bit where you're feeling like, people aren't seeing your genius. But again, I'm thinking just show them your genius. You don't need to tell them. Or if indeed they haven't seen it yet, you starting to connect with your team, your heavenly team, to say, all right, put down a situation for me where I can take advantage of my genius and display it to everyone. This full moon feels like it illuminates something that can give you power, Pisces, not something that wants to make you sadder or more, feeling unhopeful. It doesn't feel, Capricorn can be a little bit of a challenge because it's those fears, those limitations. But Capricorn's your 11th house of hopes and dreams, and it's naturally Saturn's the co-ruler of the 11th house. So I think this is an illumination of power through your connection to spirit, your daily practices of intention and awareness of the vibration of your words as you speak them. Because you can say some things that are challenging, but the vibration isn't giving an emotional charge. So it's really a very, very powerful illumination through and an opportunity to deconstruct and integrate an old energy that serves the future but does not tether it. So that's what I want to hit that note real hard. All right, let's go to the 22nd, where the sun will move into Leo, officially having its 0-degree opposition. And again, the 0 degree is a fresh energy. So there is a fresh awareness of, and I think this 0 for me is Pisces kind of in their spiritual way of assessing things is what goes around comes around. Everything, life is infinite. The 0 to me is while it's introducing an energy that's pure, the opposition feels more about a surrender to the dynamics of the human experience, and that there is dark in it, and that dark does serve the light, because it gives the light an opportunity to shine. Because if it was nothing but lights, you wouldn't see it. And on this day, we see Mercury as it's at the end of its Leo journey in your 6th house. It's about to go into its domicile in Virgo is having a quincunx to Neptune. And I want to say this because you could inadvertently find yourself suddenly going back to some routines, or there's everyday things that get in your way as you're leaving the Leo energy and entering the workforce of Virgo within your partnerships. It could inadvertently bring something up, and it keeps you from finding the wisdom of carving out the time to practice your spiritual tools. Now, I think that the shower is always a good time, especially for people who are water-based, because they can intend and pray and even meditate in the shower and do two things at one time. So this last end of the month, though, feels like it becomes too busy, and I get this big conflict going on with, Mars's entry into Gemini. Again, Gemini is your fourth house, so there may be some busyness around the home or around your children that was not there earlier with the summer fun, although it still feels like it should be summer to me personally. Okay, now let's go to the 26th. And this is when Mercury gains his strength. And that's the strength of process and practicality and logic and being realistic. And it completely blindsiding the spiritual dynamics as being relevant, or even being aware that I'm in the midst of transforming. The world is transforming. Whether we realize it or not, people who think in little boxes will die off. And the people who are incarnating right now, the generations ahead will be thinking much more broadly, and they will understand the laws of the universe. They'll be taught in school, because we'll no longer be teaching through fear, but inspiring through empowerment, so that we can all be co-creators. And here we see this, here's your third and fourth house being kind of lit up in a challenging way to Virgos, going into its natural sign of all business, and that could be, again, the seventh house is not just marriage partnerships. It's also professional partnerships. It's where we foster peace, peace of mind, fairness, balance, and there isn't balance without both dark and light. There would be no need for balance if there was not both. So this might be a bit of a difficult couple of days as you experience this sort of not getting it. Like, why are things feel like they're going backward? And it could be, okay, sometimes when we start a spiritual awareness journey, we actually inadvertently draw in the experiences that we don't find pleasant or favorable, because that's us getting an opportunity to demonstrate our own awareness, our own intention, and our own evolution. And we inadvertently think the universe is testing us, but we're not. We still have a vibration and a law of attraction that's in play. And that could be happening here with these quincunxes sort of pointing like a yod to Mercury in Virgo. Okay, now let's go to the last day of the month. And I think that now the planets they've dispersed a little bit. They're all kind of stretching their arms a little bit, not crowding each other. And at the same time, Mars is coming up on Jupiter in your fourth house. And this could really be a challenging time, because we're seeing Jupiter's currently in a loose square with, well, it's not that loose, it's 4 degrees with Saturn. And that could really bring up some polarizing beliefs and people getting hot about it, getting hot about what you're seeing in the media. And the United States is going through a presidential, excuse me if I use the word election. I don't know if it really is, but in any case, it's something, and it's getting people going. So the end of the month could see people having, growing passions about their beliefs and being willing to display it. And those are the times when I just try to go into neutral zone and keep my big trap shut. So I don't think Pisces has any problem with that, but you may find it to be a little challenging and a little bit undermining, because you're trying to find peace within, and the world is adding to the disruption. But such are these times because, again, we're evolving, and, birthing is never an easy process. There's always some awareness, aka pain, involved. So, all right, my Pisces, that's it for me for July 2024. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I'll be back in August with your monthly. If you'd like a book or reading with me, I'm available, and my information is below in the description. Have a lovely month. Keep your awareness, be gentle with your awareness, I guess, allow it to ebb and flow, and know that every time you have the awareness that your thoughts are things, you have power. All right, we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.